Good afternoon. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast. We have a pretty interesting episode today and a conversation that I would like to have with you all. Before we do that, do me a favor, hit the like button and the subscribe button and the little bell next to it. If you are already subscribed, do me a favor and just make sure, because YouTube has been unsubscribing people. We're figuring that out. It's happening a lot. So thank you so much for doing that, as well as support the companies that support Dylan Talks Tone. There's links in the description. A couple of the guitars we're going to talk about today, as well as StewMac. They've been lowering a bunch of prices over there, which is really cool. And of course, Dylan Talks Tone. I should say that we have a very cool thing happening. In fact, I'll just show you this right here. So I've been working with a coding company lately, and we're coming up with some really interesting stuff. And we've been doing some testing, and we have a few examples over on the website. And what we did was we started a new web page on DylanTalksTone.com that's called Dylan Talks Tone, Dylan Pickups Vault. And basically what this is going to be is a little short run stuff, little special edition stuff that we're going to probably, I don't know, maybe we'll alternate some stuff in and out of there here and there that you'll dig. Some stuff that we don't really have in full production. We've gotten requests for it, but we're not doing it all the time. So just keep an eye on that page because stuff's going to pop through there. So I was working with a company in town earlier this week, and we're working on some Cerakoted stuff, which looks really cool. It works really well, and it's ceramic, so it's never going to come off of there. They use this stuff on firearms. Like, it's super, super durable. It's not going to rust. It's not going to affect the tone. And everything's cool. Yeah, it's really cool. So we got like a burnt bronze. We're calling this one a denim. We only have one of those. We've got a dark, it's supposed to be black, but it's not all the way black. And then we've got what I'm calling cement, which is like this kind of flat matte gray. So super duper duper cool. This stuff is really neat. I'm really excited about it. And then of course, we've got some other things going over there too. We have a few sets of clear humbuckers. You can option it all out. Just go over there and click around. You'll see what I'm saying. The Cerakote stuff's a little more expensive than normal because it's a lot expensive to have it done. So we're just kind of playing around. And if people are really digging it, then maybe we'll get some bigger batches done and bring that cost down. So it's kind of cool. Or we'll try to bring the cost down. We'll just have to see. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. Let's throw this junk on Dungeons and Dragons here so that we do not get rings coming on through. All right. So welcome, everybody. I wanted to chat with you. I want to talk about this. Also, do me a favor and hit the subscribe. If you have questions, I already said that. If you have questions that you want to have answered today, get in the chat, put a bunch of question marks in front of it, and we'll try to get to it. If you use a super chat, I'll try to drop what I'm doing and do it right away. So there you go. So, why I think that the Mike McCready Stratocaster and the Epiphone Kirk Hammett / Peter Green Les Paul are very important instruments. They've gotten a lot of ridicule since they came out because of their cost. I get it, right? They're import guitars by their respective brands. But I'm hoping to share a little perspective here that I think is kind of interesting, and I want to get y'all's take on it as well. When we see, okay, so let's take the Mike McCready Strat is what's the one that's really on my mind, obviously, because I just got one and I've been playing it a lot and I really like it. It's, I will tell you right now, it is the best guitar to ever come out of the Mexican factory that I've ever played. Um, and obviously, I make sure that I stay up on the Made in Mexico stuff because they are good cost centers for us. People will buy Made in Mexico guitars and they will replace the pickups on them a lot. And so I really try to keep up on them, and they're very good. They're getting very good. Now, they did go through a spell about a year ago with quality stuff. And I think you're always going to kind of see a little bit of that, just because it's just kind of the way manufacturing is. I don't think quality issues are as bad as everybody makes them out to be. We've talked about that many times, and I would buy a guitar from any reputable brand right now, not worrying about quality control beyond an individual guitar. I don't think there's trends. In fact, I know there's really no trends that show that we shouldn't buy Gibson, that we shouldn't buy Fender, that we shouldn't buy PRS. Are you going to get an individual lemon? Yeah. 5% is going to slip through, and that's a lot of guitars. That's still hundreds of guitars a month. So, it's just kind of part of it, right? So you could buy anything. The problem is that the problem is this: all these guitars are getting more expensive, and we know why. This is not. I think a lot of people think that this is some sort of company money grab. We've talked about this many times. Guitars are getting more expensive, just like I went to the grocery store today and one bag of food this big costs $100. You know what I mean? It's just, stuff's expensive. Everything's getting expensive. So I understand that. What's happening though is some of the stuff that we really, really like is getting priced out of our own means. You used to be able to get a custom shop Strat for $3,500, $4,000, and it's not the case anymore. $3,500 now is a premier guitar. That's like, I don't mean like the magazine. I mean like, a Martin HD28, okay, is $3,400. A Martin D35 is right in there, $3,600. They're expensive guitars. But when you talk about a custom shop Strat being $3,500, it's a lot of money, but it's something that if you really wanted it, you could save for it. Well, now that they're $6,000 or $7,000, that's a lot more. It has pushed it up so far that a lot of us are like, I'm in a spot where I'm like, I wanted to buy a custom shop Telly when I bought the green one back there. And it was just like, I couldn't make that jump. It was just too much. And so somebody like Fender saying, well, you know what? We're going to take a Made in Mexico guitar and we are going to add a bunch of really cool things to it. And we're basically going to make it a custom shop junior, a custom shop light, which is what that guitar is. It has an unbleached bone nut. It is reliced actually very well. I mean, it's not reliced $6,000 worth, but it's definitely reliced $1,800 worth. It's done very, very well for the price range that it's in. And it's not bad. It's just not custom shop. It's got great pickups. It's a great guitar. If you take the feature set of that guitar and put that all together and say, okay, this guitar is it is a premium product. It is a premium product that came out of the Made in Mexico factory. And many, many people will say, that's just an MIM Strat. I would never spend that much money for it. I get where you're coming from, but here's the problem. People will associate Made in Mexico or an Epiphone that's $1,500 with this budget product that it no longer is. It is not a basic, it's not a basic import guitar. It is the import factory now putting out a more premium product. And what's going to happen here is they're going to use that to bridge the gap. It's almost like it's the entry level to the custom shop. Okay. So a person like myself, who I may in the future save up and buy a custom shop Strat, but right now I will not. I do not have the means, and I don't have the desire to dedicate those funds and that time and that saving up time to get one of those guitars. So I am happy with the Custom Shop Lite being this guitar for $1,800, no matter where it's made. If it's a Fender and it's done by them in one of their factories in a way that keeps the cost down where I can afford it, I'm going to buy it. I really, really, really like that guitar. And that's why. Same thing with the Epiphone Greenie. The Epiphone Greenie is a little more interesting because there is an American one that is, $3,100. But there's this gateway in the price structure, this gap between, $1,200 and $2,000 that they're trying to fill with a quality product. And that is what makes sense. And I think what happens is, especially older guitar players who are not used to what things cost in 2023 because they have been subject to inflation their entire lives, and those that remember, rightfully so, these brands being budget only brands are having a hard time with making the leap and saying, hey, guess what? The Made in Mexico factory makes some very premium products now. Epiphone makes some very premium products now. No, they are not as good as the custom shop stuff. No, they are not as good as the American stuff. We know that, and it is quantifiable that we know that. It's pretty easy to line them up and see. But to bridge that gap so that you don't have to take that jump, here is a product in between that you will enjoy. And I think they've done a great job of that. I think it's up to us as guitar players to get used to the fact that the Made in Mexico Fenders are good, that they are not a budget guitar anymore. I'm going to show you something. Do you guys remember this? This is like a 1987, what is that thing? A Hyundai Accent or a Hyundai, whatever that is. Do you remember when those cars came out here in the United States? They were absolute garbage. I had my bass player in my band. I was living on the East Coast at the time, and my bass player in my band had one of these. And it was terrible. It got us everywhere we wanted to go, but it was pretty terrible. Fast forward to 2023, and Hyundai makes $100,000 car now. Obviously inflation and whatever, but they don't make budget only cars anymore. And my wife and I were talking about this morning because we were over at the Audi dealership, and I can't bring myself to buy a fancy Hyundai. I can't do it. I could buy my daughter one. I could buy my daughter a Hyundai and let her drive it around. It could be her driving around car. But if there is an Audi sitting next to a Hyundai that costs the same money and have the same features, I'm going to buy the Audi all day long, because I am in the generation that remembers, and for some reason, for no reason whatsoever, this is not reasonable of me to say that Hyundai makes crappy cars, because they don't anymore. They make great cars, and they make a premium product now. But because I remember that car I just showed you, I am like, for some reason, that brand will always be tough for me when I compare it to something else that costs that much. And I think that is an internal mental battle for me with like an Audi A6 versus a Genesis G60 or whatever. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of people who remember when Epiphones were cheap guitars from the early 80s until very recently, and when Fender Mexican Strats were a stopgap between Squire and Fender, American Fender, which they have been. That's the problem. That's the problem. So we're having a hard time accepting the fact that these American brands are allowing their import versions to become more premium products to fill a gap in the market. And they're doing very well at it. For every one person who gets in the comments who says, oh, that's stupid, I would never buy that or whatever, may I remind you that the junk is on back order. They're going to sell every one of them that they make. And if you are a person who gets in the comments who thinks that you're going to make some difference because you don't like Relic guitars or you don't like whatever, you're of a small minority. We all are. Like all of our, we are a small minority. And I think that we will, those products are going to sell. So they're going to keep making them. And those of us that are a little old fashioned, like I am about Hyundai, and maybe you are about Epiphone and Mexican made Fenders, we are just going to have to get over it because that's how life is. And that's what they are. You don't have to buy it. That's fine. You don't have to buy it, but, there are way more young people buying these products who don't remember the old Hyundai, who don't remember the old crappy Mexican Fenders, who all they care about is right now, who see a good product and they just buy it. So the companies are going to be fine whether we're curmudgeons about it or not. So we might as well just get over it and enjoy all of the stuff as it comes out. You know what I mean? It's just an interesting kind of concept to think about. Let's see. I haven't looked at any questions yet. So let me just see. So which is it? Don't settle for something other than the real deal and nothing is just as good as, or these are amazing and totally worth it. If I want the real deal, these won't ever be as good. So Rusty, that's a great point. For me, it's, do I like it or not? If I like it, I like it. End of story. But I will tell you for sure that it's not as good as a custom shop Strat. That these cheaper guitars are not as good as the more expensive counterparts. They are not. Does that mean that you can't let them stand on their own and enjoy them? Absolutely not. I like them. If you like them, get them. Buy whatever you want and buy and enjoy it. Just don't be one of those people that gets in the comments all the time. It's like, this is just as good as that one. And blah, blah. That's stupid. Just enjoy the guitar. Let each instrument and your opinion, like, believe in what you're saying. And don't tell me, like, this is the thing. People aren't sure. So they have to justify it. I don't need to justify anything. I love the guitar. I don't care what you think. I don't care what anybody thinks about the guitars that I own. Just be you and say, this is why I like it. If you say, this is why I like it, I'll be like, okay, cool. Now, if you say, this is just as good as this other one, that's telling me that you don't really like it, but because you want something else, but you had to settle for this, or you were willing to settle for this, and you're selling yourself short. That's what that means. Let's see. If double cream is being added to the public domain, will you make them? That will come down to parts availability. Right now, I cannot get double cream that I would like to use, even if I wanted to, which is all kind of on purpose. So, for example, if I were to order cream slugs and cream bobbins, they're slightly different colors, and I think they do that on purpose. So you can put two of them together and they don't match. But if you put them in a zebra, it doesn't matter. So right now, there is not the there is nothing. about that. I watched your videos on shielding, but I wonder if you have any experience with the Jazzmaster aluminum pickguard inserts. They do work. I have one actually, and they do work. Yeah, I would use one if you have one. They're pretty cool. Okay, Gary Simmons, you said a Relic to custom shop strat is 4,500 MSRP, and a local shop sells them from 20% off. See, now I would buy that. 20% off of 4,500. Yeah, so you're talking like what, $3,300? That's really good. I would 3,600. I would buy that. Yeah. That's a good price. Why would someone choose Alnico 2 over a 5 instead of charging a 5 less and always have the potential? Because that is more difficult to do than you think. One single pass and boom, it's past where you want it to be. It is much easier to do it the other way. If you're near South Carolina, I can hook you up with a good spot for saving money on a custom shop. I have a good spot too. Casino Guitars. Let's see. The import brands are starting to sell guitars closer to what they need, what many and them to be. I don't understand what that is. Sorry, I'm trying to just catch up because we're just chatting. Do you think people are less likely to mod the more expensive models coming out now versus others? It depends on the kind of person. I do worry about that. Like, guitars get better, and so do I become redundant. I don't think so totally. Because people just enjoy it, right? I enjoy modding stuff. Yeah, that Mike McCready Strat is going to get new pickups at some point. I'm enjoying it right now the way it is, but I'm gonna put new pickups in it. And I will tell you that 2023 was our busiest year ever. So I think that we are fine. I think that people always enjoy doing it, but I see your point though. I definitely see your point because, even me, right? Like, so I have a bunch of guitars now that don't have my pickups in them, which is weird because usually they always do. And I have a bunch that don't. I have a different reason for that, actually. BC Rich. Toyota Avalon is basically a Lexus, but people will pay for that label premium for no rational reason. This is the Epiphone Gibson argument, and I disagree with that line of reasoning. Being such a car freak, I've done a lot of comparison shopping because I've bought 50 or 60 cars in my lifetime, and there is a marked difference between the Lexus product and the Toyota product. Marked difference. Same thing with Audi and Volkswagen. Same thing with I don't know, what are some other ones. The only blurry line for me in the car world where you go up a level and it just seems to get a little blurry is if you were to buy like a GMC Yukon Denali versus a Cadillac Escalade. For me, that one's a little blurry, but I would still buy the Escalade because I think it's cool. But the Toyota Lexus thing, to me, that doesn't make sense. They're way, way, way different. And Infiniti and Nissan is way different too. Before I bought my Audi, I almost bought a Lexus. I almost bought a GX. And the only reason I didn't is because I didn't like the dealership. I went in there and I literally almost walked out with a Lexus GX. And the salesman sort of annoyed me. And he did one of those things that a lot of people do in the YouTube comments. I've been playing for longer than you and I know way more than you. Well, first of all, you don't know how old I am. Second of all, you don't know how experienced I am at this. Third of all, why would you even do that if I'm standing here with money in my hand? It really, really made me mad. It happens to me all the time, especially in car stuff. So I walked out. I walked out and I bought an Audi, and I'm very happy with it. Oh, super chat. Sorry about missing the super chat there, dude. Hi, Dylan. I have an amazing 2013 MIM 60s Classic Series Sunburst Nitro with reverse wound FB. And it was $1,300 new 10 years ago. $1,899 seems fair. Yeah, and that's the other thing, Roth. Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So let's chat about that a little bit. There were a lot of folks who said this is this is just a made in Mexico guitar that's been beat up. And this is something that I don't know why guitar players cannot get this. When you go and buy a car, okay, let's use the car thing again. When you go and buy, and we'll use something more basic and something that we know. Let's go buy a base model Toyota Camry. Okay, they're about 20. I think they're about $26,000. Now you can option one up to about 40, maybe a little more actually now. And I could be off on these numbers because I haven't looked in a few months and everything's changed. And I haven't looked at Camrys in a while. You can option a Chevy truck from like $34,000 up to $100,000. When you go on the website and you click a box and you add a feature, it adds money. End of story. That's what it does. That's what you do. When you add an option, you add money. Why? Because the part doesn't appear out of thin air and the part doesn't jump onto the car by itself with magic. And the process that takes time doesn't just instantly appear. So, parts cost, installation of parts cost, and labor for things that are, quality-wise, are money. Everything is money. Everything costs money. So, when you take let's take, all right, I'll tell you what. Let's do this right now. This annoys me so much when guitar players do this. It drives me freaking batty. Hang on one second. Let's see. Let's take the Ventera 2. Hang on. I'm typing into my browser. I know this is excellent television, but I apologize. All right, so we take the Ventera 2 60s Stratocaster, and it is $1,149, and it has pretty basic stuff on it. It's got it's a Stratocaster, you know what I mean? 7 1/4 radius fretboard, RWRP pickups, vintage styles pickups, whatever, for crystalline bell-like tones. Ooh, this thing sounds amazing. Polyester finish, obviously. What else we got here? Vintage tall frets, synthetic bone, gig bag, normal stuff. Okay, so this is a made in Mexico Strat. Duh. End of story. So it's $11.49. So first of all, let's take the $50 gig bag off of there and we'll add a $200 case. So now what are we at? We're at 11, 12, 1300. Okay. So now let's add custom shop-ish pickups. Okay. Let's add a bone nut that is not bleached. Let's add the, it's got basically the same tuners, but they've been aged, which cannot happen by itself. Let's add a treble bleed. Let's add better pots, better pickups, and all the labor to do all the relicking stuff. Now, whether you like that or not is notwithstanding. Okay. Whether you think that the guitar should be relicked or not does not matter in this conversation. You can decide not to pay for it and you can decide not to buy it. That's totally fine. But the thing is that the nitrocellulose finish and all the work that goes into making the guitar the way it look the way it does is time, money, and materials. We are very quickly to a $1,500 made in Mexico guitar, or probably $1,600 made in Mexico guitar. Well, the thing's $18.99. So it's also has an artist premium on it. Sometimes those artist premiums are $300. Sometimes they're $500 or $600 based on the artist, based on the deal that the artist makes with the company. So you very quickly get to $18.99 for a made in Mexico guitar. But each of those things cost money, and each of those things are a feature, and each of those things take time to be added to the guitar. That we started at $11.49. It was very easy to get to $18.99. So it's very reasonable. It makes total sense. Now, whether you're willing to spend the money for that or not that's up to you. That's not up to me. I was willing to do it. I really like it. But that doesn't mean that the guitar is overpriced or that the guitar is, not worth it or whatever, or it's just a beat up Strat. Because those things that are appreciated by others other than you cost money to accomplish. And if the person that appreciates it, that's not you, is willing to spend the money, then it's not overpriced. It's very simple. It's, which is totally fine. And everybody can do whatever they want to do. That's fine with me. I don't care. Thanks, Dean. The jumper wire worked. Thanks for the sketch. Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate that very much, Dean. I disagree. Every time I'm told to get less, well, the rich get more. They hoard the expensive guitars, then make imaginary money later. Yeah, that's... they have tinfoil hats on Amazon. I'm just saying. The McCready is a stepping stone to a Relic custom shop Strat. I don't even love Pearl Jam, but I would definitely own one. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just a neat guitar, and you might not think so. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. This is something that keeps coming up in the comments. People are like, you get pissed about everything. I don't get pissed about anything, actually. I never get upset about anything. I don't get mad. I used to when I was younger. I used to have a really bad temper. But I don't get mad. And the reason is because I'm happy. My wife is awesome. My kids are awesome. My job is awesome. Hanging out with y'all is awesome. I have nothing to complain about, to tell you the truth. I'm very grateful. And so I don't get mad about anything. And I think what happens is folks get in the comments and they disagree with what I say. So here's what happens. This is a cycle. I say something that you disagree with. Therefore, just because I disagree with you, you think I'm mad because you said something different. Don't care. I love it when you say something different. I think it's great. Keep doing it because that's how we all learn. And honestly, where we got today for this conversation is because it's all things that I took out of the comments. And I was like, you know what? I'm learning more things, and I wanted to share all of this. I got this from you. You know what I mean? So I don't get mad about anything. If I challenge you in the comments, there's a couple things I will challenge in the comments. Folks want to hold me accountable for what I say. Inaccuracies, opinions. Every opinion that I share with you has been thought about, backed up. I have a journal. I write in a journal every night, and I make notes on things that I think about. And I go back and I look at them and I'm like, do I still feel this way? Why? What is the reason? Why do I have this train of thought? And then I share that train of thought with you. Whether you agree with it or not, I don't care. We just want to talk about it. I don't look down on anybody else for having a different opinion than me. Not whatsoever. Unless you are speaking out of the side of your head without any basis for the opinion or view that you are sharing, because you do not have the conviction to do the research yourself and understand what you are saying. If you have no knowledge of where wood comes from, then don't argue with me about where wood comes from, because I do know. And I would be happy to tell you how I know. Those kinds of things. Like Leslie says, we even with our kids, when our kids were little, we're like, they say, I think blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, why? Why do you think that? Where did you get that opinion from? Is that because somebody told you that? Is that because you are latching on to something else that somebody else believes? Or do you actually have that opinion? And can you give me the reasoning behind the opinion that you share? I'm going to hold you accountable just like you hold me accountable. If you can't handle that, this is not the YouTube channel for you. End of story. It's not that I'm mad. It's not that I'm upset. It's not that I'm triggered. I just like to have actual, meaningful human conversations and not fluff. And if you can't handle reality, go watch cartoons. And I'm not mad. I think it's funny. Let's see. Everybody's like, I'm out of here. Wasn't the Joe Strummer made in Mexico? So the Joe Strummer was made in Mexico. I didn't like that guitar. My friend has one. And let's just say, I guess, okay, if they made the Joe Strummer in Mexico today, it would probably be better than the one they made before. This guitar, even when it comes to the made in Mexico version of aging a guitar, it's not as good as a custom shop, obviously. However, it is worlds better than anything we've seen out of Mexico to this point. I will tell you, I was fully prepared to return it. I actually told Leslie, I said, I am excited about this guitar. I really want it. But if it gets here and it looks stupid, I'm going to send it back. Because I don't want to support that. And I pulled it out of the box and I was like, this thing's actually pretty cool. I think it will look better over time too. I'm not going to clean it or anything. You know what I mean? Some of the wood is a little clean in some spots. And, there are some things where you're like, okay, I can see where this was done in a production environment instead of like, by hand. I think they have certain templates and stuff they use. So there's some spots where you can kind of tell that, especially on like the bare wood areas. But I think over time, like, don't clean it, just play it. And I think it'll be fine. But in comparison to a lot of the road worn stuff that's come out of Mexico before, it's way, 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 way better than that. And so I really like it a lot. Let's see. All right. What else we got going? Yeah, let me make sure I got all my super chats here. Oh, you sent me 2 super chats, dude. Thanks for that. Hang on. I'm trying to keep up with everything here, and it's like when people say Relic guitars are just beat up guitars. Good Relic mimics a well-worn and played 50-year-old guitar. A beat-up guitar is just an abused guitar with random damage. That's really true. It's totally true. I have to say, being comfortable with a guitar that you don't have to worry about is really nice. I don't typically worry too much about my guitars. I'm not very precious with them. I don't want to ding up. I think it depends on the color. I don't want to ding up my Roxy Pink Silver Sky, because if you ding that up, I think you'll really be able to tell. I don't want to ding up my other PRS either. I probably wouldn't care if I started to really show some wear on my telly. That doesn't bother me. It's like certain guitars are made to do that over time, I think. I don't know, like I just in my mind, like it's totally a mental thing. I don't think it has anything to do with anything in particular, but acoustics, now that's another story. Do not scratch my acoustics. Do not play them with a chair with an arm on it. That's why I have this chair, because I can fold up an arm and play for videos and stuff. Yeah, do not ding up my acoustics. Do not scratch them, etc. Like, that's very important. But electrics are a little kind of case by case for me, really. If I'm thinking of buying an American Strat, would I be happy with that MIM? It depends how important the specific features of that guitar are. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Keith. If you just want a really good Strat, American Vintage 2 all day long. 100%. My telly, I have an American Vintage 2 telly. It is amazing. It's the best telly I've ever played. It's so good. If you want the features that that guitar has, the Pearl Jam one, Mike McCready, then buy it. But the American Vintage 2 is a better guitar. I would say that the American Vintage 2 is a better guitar, because my telly is a better guitar than this made in Mexico guitar. But it was also more money. I paid $2,100 for that. So, let's see. How about the November Burst? So the November Burst is a little in between. I don't want to beat it up, but I don't really clean it either. I like Gibson, especially nitrocellulose finishes, to get sort of foggy and matted looking. My other Gibson, I have 2 Gibsons. I have my SG Junior. I never ever clean that guitar. Like, I never wipe it off. I never anything. Oh, I did get maybe we'll put it in a video. I was trying to make it more 61, 63 looking. So I bought the correct knobs for it, and I bought the little pointer things that go on the knobs too. So I'm going to put that on that SG Junior just to make it look a little more period correct to the older ones. But yeah, my Les Paul, I don't want to beat it up. I mean, I think it's got some, it's probably got some scratches in it and stuff. Cause I have a pocket knife in my pocket all the time that's got a belt clip on it. I don't care about that stuff. I let it happen. I try to be careful, but I'm not going to go change out of jeans because there's rivets in the pockets to play my guitar. I'm not going to do that. This is life. So, I'm I'm always going to, everybody thinks I'm going to beat up my guitar with my Leatherman bracelet. It has never once hit any of my guitars in any meaningful way whatsoever. So, and I have a wedding ring on. I'm not going to take my wedding ring off, like that kind of stuff. I don't care that much. Like, I want them to be nice. Now, if it's a guitar that I'm buying for the channel and one of you is going to end up with it, that's a different story. I make sure that guitar does not get damaged. Because I want you to have a brand new guitar when you get it, even though it's been used on a couple of videos and modded and stuff like that. So I really try to be careful with the guitars that I know aren't eventually going to be mine. The ones that we've been talking about so far are never for sale. They have not been for sale. I am keeping them. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. My new Martin, very precious. Not touching that against anything. Same thing with my Breedlove. Same thing with my McPherson, although my McPherson's so durable that if you bang it against something, nothing's going to happen to it. So it doesn't really even matter. With the level of humidity in your guitar room, what did you use to keep the guitars humidified? So we live in an interesting environment. We're in the southeast of the United States. I see you're in Germany. So we're in the southeast of the United States. And we have it's higher humidity here than normal than other places. So even in the winter, it's not terrible. Yeah. David Kornblatt, why did you say my friendship was invalid when I was considering buying pickups from you after I was saying all Les Paul shapes have value? I don't even know what that means. Why can't amplifier companies cashing in on the factory Relic why aren't they cashing in on the factory Relic thing? That's a good question. That is a great question. Why don't they? Because a beat up tweed Fender, or as you mentioned, a Marshall, would be really cool, actually. I mean, that's really neat. Why don't they do that? That's a good question. Somebody should answer that question. What size hookup wire would you say is the industry standard? 24 or 22. Hang on. I got something right here. I think this is 22. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure 22. My cat's reliced my bass. Yeah, I think 22 is pretty good. It's no longer an off-of-the-line product. More hands-on time is spent on the guitar. Randy, it's never been production line. Guitars have always been made by humans. I think that's a big misconception that people have, even in the foreign factories. Now, in the reputable foreign factories that would, like Court or I don't know, I guess Epiphone, they do a pretty good job. Fujigen in Japan, they're all run by people. There are some machines, but they're all run by people. Guitars are made by people who use some machines. There is no assembly line for a guitar. It doesn't work like that. Just the way a guitar is made, it will never be like a car where it's going through a bunch of robots and a guitar comes out the other end, or like even like a beer bottling factory. No human touches. The beer goes in the bottle and the bottle goes around the thing and it spins around the thing and then the cap comes out and the cap comes down and blah, blah, blah. No human ever touches it. Guitars will never be like that. There's always humans involved in this kind of stuff. Look at your comments on to get a Heritage guitar or a real Les Paul. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're butthurt about something I said, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm not mad about it. I don't have any hard feelings or anything, so I'm not really sure. I want to get a Heritage. I definitely do. That's on my list to buy one, actually. One of those are really neat. And I think you should too. Yeah, super cool. Well, you guys, I got places to be tonight. And side note, the G in... Oh, it is Fujigen, isn't it? Thank you, Mr. from Japan, Shane. Thank you very much for the correction on that. I will try to remember that the next time I say it. And all these guitars are just getting better and better. Cool. Well, you guys, this has been fun. We will see you on Thursday for a live video. I have a video coming out Friday, just so everybody knows. And we also have a video coming out Monday on Christmas Day. If you are a YouTube member or a Patreon member who hangs out with us for our live streams, our live Zoom hangouts, we usually do it on the 4th Monday of every month, but that's Christmas. So we're going to knock it to the first of the year. But I have a video coming out on Friday that I think you're going to find interesting. I got one of those vibraty things that's supposed to like play your guitar in, and I put it on my Martin for a week, and we will give you some results on Friday. And then I've got another video coming out on Monday, and I think you guys will dig that one as well. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all very soon.